I just work here. And you see what happens is people use it for a profit. It was actually very hypocritical for such a well-known church. I mean, Harvard's Great Glory, the Angel Center, the Dodger Stadium, and packs thousands and thousands of people. But yet, he's selling books to teach against Halloween. But yet there was hundreds and hundreds of kids that was at the church, and they were encouraging it, and they were feeding them, and they were selling things because they was profiting from it also. And you see, when the people lose track of God, and they lose track of the truth, actually they don't realize that they become very hypocritical because they don't actually practice what they preach because of the love of money for it. And this is why it earns so much money, because even churches like mega churches like that bring thousands and thousands of people a weekend actually are in it for the money. Because in reality, they should have came against that because they're the only one in town that was selling the book for it. But then they're encouraging it because they needed the income from it. And by the way, it's $100 a person for So anyways, this is what happens when we start to lose focus. This is what happens when we start to not pay attention. This is what happens when we start to compromise with the world by thinking things are cute and not knowing what's really behind the cuteness. Because in reality, the Bible says that Lucifer was an angel of light. He was beautiful. He looked great. He was the most worshipped angel. He was the most angel in highest rank. He was the only angel that was able to walk up to the altar, to the presence of God, and he was able to worship God because of his beauty. You see, he looked good, it looked nice, but in reality, the motives behind it was wrong. And you see, tonight the motive behind this is wrong because we don't understand what it is to participate, what it is when we do these things, what it is to disguise ourselves, what it is to participate when we give out candy, when we're really saying is because of, not because he's a cute little kid and we want to say no to him, because I know that's none of our hearts. We don't want to say no to no kid that's cute. If anything, we would go out of our way to give them whatever they want because we love cute kids. But because of what is happening to the kids behind them, they don't understand that they're following a pagan holiday and they're participating in a demonic holiday because they're doing exactly what lost souls, they're doing exactly what souls would do that would come to a house that they would have to get a treat or they would get a trick. And we participate in this as Christians. And we like pumpkins, and we do, and we don't understand the sincerity, we don't understand the severity of it, and how important it is. One theory actually is about the pumpkin jack-o'-lantern, that there's a guy named Jack, and this is just, it's a theory. I actually really think it's not true. I'm going to say I know it's not true. He tricked Satan into climbing a tree, and after Satan climbed the tree, he carved the cross in the tree, so Satan couldn't come down until Satan gave him what he wanted. And once Satan agreed to give him what he wanted, he did what he needed to do. He cut off that portion of the tree so Satan could come down from the tree. He was an alcoholic. He died. God didn't want him. And when he died, Satan didn't want him either. So Satan kicked him out of hell. And when Satan kicked him out of hell, he took a coal and he threw it in him. And he picked up that coal and he put it in a turnip. And he started to just roam the earth. And therefore you get the phrase jack-o'-lantern. I told you it's a cheesy story, but just because of what it represents, it's nonsense that we participate in things. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 14. 2 Corinthians 11:14. Corinthians 11:14. And no wonder For Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. It's not surprising then if his servants masquerades as servants of righteousness. Their end will be what their actions deserve. So what it says is, even Satan masquerades himself, he disguises himself, and he's able to put on many different forms. And because of that, it just goes to show us what happens when people disguise themselves on this day, because they're trying to disguise themselves. And I know you think it's innocent, and please, I'm not here to really offend or to hurt anybody, but I just want to let you know that as Christians, as sons and daughters of God, it actually offends God when we participate in a day like today, because it's not meant for you to participate in. It's not meant for you to be a part of, because God doesn't want us to be a part of this, because it's not from God. It is actually a practice that was from people that worship. And how do I know this? Because I'm going to take you a step further tonight. About 4 or 5 years ago, I went to a Wicca bookstore, and it was about 8:30 at night, Seattle, cold, foggy, and rainy. And when we walked in that Wicca bookstore, I was looking for books, I was looking for information, and I went to the back of the room, and the guy in the front's not paying attention, and there was a door in that back room. And when I got to that door, I heard something, and being nosy, I went to that door and I looked into that door, and I stood there for about 2 minutes. Not because I wanted to, because I kind of got shocked at the same time, and I froze. Because when I got there, I saw 4 witches on the floor in a satanic star, and I saw how they were worshiping Satan. And I saw how they had a bowl, and how they had sacrifices, and how they had candles, and how they had things. And when I walked into that room, I was a little stung, but also they knew that something was wrong too. They turned around and they said, somebody's here who shouldn't be here. And when they turned around, they saw me. And at that moment, I knew I needed not to be there also. I turned around and I was gone. But I gotta be honest, it was the most ugliest, it was the most coldest, it was the most grazza feeling in the world. It actually looked like when I got outside, that like everybody in the world was vanished. I was looking for lights, people, I needed to see something, and I didn't see it, and it was a very ugly, cold feeling to see people actually come to a place to do that. And it's very, very unbiblical. And then I knew, and then she came outside and said, well, can I help you? What are you doing here? And I looked at her and I said, I'm here for information. She said, I know who you are. You're from a church and you want to know about Halloween, right? And I said, yes. And she said, there's nothing I could tell you. You know you don't belong here, and you should leave before something happens. Wow. And there was about 3 guys in the car. It was a little dark in color, but when we got to the car, they were whiter than snow. But because we don't belong in things like that, it just goes to show what happens on nights like these. That sacrifices, that demonic worship is taking place, that witches are getting ordained, that warlocks are getting ordained, that demonic priests are being added to demonic churches, and that we have no business as Christians participating in an ungodly thing. Ephesians 5,